The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, a series of complex mathematical sequences, followed by what could only be described as an invitation. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally received its answer. They were not alone. The year was 2087. Earth's major nations, once divided by old conflicts, stood united under the newly formed United Earth Defense Initiative. The UEDI headquarters in Geneva buzzed with activity as scientists, military personnel, and government officials gathered to discuss the alien transmission. "The message appears peaceful," said Dr. Alan Murphy, adjusting his glasses as he studied the decoded text. "They call themselves the Xeraxians. They want to meet." Captain Olivia Mason stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching the excitement unfold. At 42, she had spent her life in military service, rising through the ranks with a mix of tactical brilliance and unwavering resolve. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, her face weathered by years of command decisions. "Captain Mason," General Rivera's voice cut through the noise. "A word." She followed him to a quiet corner. "The council has made their decision," he said. "We're sending a delegation to meet these Xeraxians. You've been selected to lead it." Olivia's expression remained neutral, though her mind raced. "Why me, sir?" "Because if this goes wrong, I need someone who can think on their feet, someone who understands that diplomacy sometimes requires a backup plan." 3 days later, Olivia found herself selecting her team. She chose Lieutenant Greg Hoffman, a weapons specialist with a calm demeanor, Dr. Alan Murphy, whose work in xenobiology had prepared him better than most for this encounter, and Lisa Wright, a communications officer with an uncanny ability to decipher intent behind words. The UES Frontier, Earth's most advanced spacecraft, underwent final preparations at the lunar dock. It wasn't designed for war. Its sleek lines and transparent observation decks spoke of scientific exploration. But Olivia noted with approval the discreet defense systems installed along its hull. On the day of departure, the team gathered on the launch pad. Family said tearful goodbyes, media drones hovered for final images, and government officials made grand speeches about this historic moment. As the crowds began to disperse, an older man approached Olivia. Commander Frank Patterson had been her first commanding officer 20 years ago. Now retired, he moved with a slight limp, a reminder of battles long past. "Captain," he said, his voice gruff with emotion. "Got a minute?" They walked a short distance from the others. Patterson reached into his jacket and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This isn't official," he said quietly. "But I've been around long enough to know that first contacts are tricky things." Olivia took the envelope. It was marked simply, "Rule number 1. Don't open it," Patterson said. "Not unless things get bad. Really bad." "What is it?" she asked. "Just something to remember when everything else fails." He squeezed her shoulder. "Hopefully, you'll never need it." The launch proceeded without incident. As Earth shrank to a blue marble behind them, Olivia gathered her team in the ship's conference room. "We have one mission," she said, looking at each of them in turn. "Make peaceful contact and establish diplomatic relations with the Xeraxians. We represent all of humanity now." Lisa raised her hand. "Captain, their latest message included coordinates for the meeting point. It's in neutral space between our solar system and what they claim is their territory." "How long?" asked Greg. "At maximum speed. We'll reach it in 11 days, Lisa replied. As the meeting ended, Olivia returned to her quarters. She placed Patterson's envelope in her personal safe, wondering what wisdom the old commander thought important enough to commit to paper in this digital age. Outside her window, stars streaked by as the ship accelerated. Somewhere ahead, an alien civilization waited. Whether they came as friends or something else, Olivia Mason and her crew would be humanity's first line of contact, and perhaps its first line of defense. The UES Frontier slowed as it approached the meeting coordinates. Through the main viewport, the crew saw the Xeraxian ship for the first time. It was massive. at least 5 times the size of their vessel. Its surface shimmered with a metallic blue sheen that seemed to shift colors as it moved against the backdrop of stars. "Are we recording this?" Olivia asked, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. Lisa nodded. "Every second." Transmitting back to Earth with only the expected light speed delay. The comm system crackled to life. "UES Frontier, this is Ambassador Krell of the Xeraxian Empire. We welcome you to this historic meeting." The voice was smooth and clear, processed perfectly through their translation systems. Lisa gave a thumbs up. The linguistic algorithms they'd sent ahead had done their job. "Ambassador Krell, this is Captain Olivia Mason of Earth. We are honored to make your acquaintance. Please prepare for docking procedures. We have adapted our entry bay to accommodate your vessel." Greg shifted uncomfortably. "Captain, I'm not sure about bringing our ship inside theirs." Olivia understood his concern. "Agreed. Ambassador Krell, we appreciate your offer, but protocol suggests our first meeting should take place in neutral space. Perhaps we could use our shuttlecraft to come aboard instead." A brief pause followed. "Of course, Captain. We respect your caution." 2 hours later, Olivia led her team through the docking tube connecting their shuttle to the Xeraxian ship. Dr. Murphy carried scanning equipment disguised as diplomatic gifts. Greg wore a standard uniform, but Olivia knew he had concealed a small sidearm despite her orders against it. She decided to pretend she hadn't noticed. The airlock opened to reveal a massive chamber. The ceiling arched 20 meters above them, covered in what looked like living light. Flowing patterns of blue and green energy. Standing before them were 3 Xeraxians. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with slender bodies covered in iridescent skin that changed color with subtle movements. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and their eyes were large and entirely black, without visible pupils. The central figure stepped forward. "Captain Mason, I am Ambassador Krell." His mouth moved differently than his translated words, reminding them of the vast differences between their species. "Ambassador, may I introduce my team? Lieutenant Hoffman, Dr. Murphy, and Officer Wright." Krell gestured to his companions. "My advisors, Vex and Sora." The 3 aliens bowed slightly, a gesture they had clearly researched from human customs. The next several hours passed in careful diplomatic exchanges. The Xeraxians showed them through parts of their ship, vast gardens growing alien plants, engineering rooms with technology far beyond Earth's capabilities, and finally to a conference room where they discussed potential cooperation. "We have much to offer each other," Krell said. "Technology, scientific knowledge, art, and culture." While Olivia engaged in conversation, she noticed Dr. Murphy growing increasingly distracted. He kept glancing at his scanner disguised as a tablet. "Is everything all right, Dr. Murphy?" she asked during a break. "Just processing all this new information," he said, but his eyes told her different. Later, as they returned to their shuttle for a rest period, Lisa pulled Olivia aside. "Captain, I've been monitoring communications. There are fragmentary transmissions suggesting more Xeraxian vessels nearby. They're trying to mask them, but I'm picking up echoes." Olivia maintained her calm expression. "How many?" "I can't be sure. At least 3, possibly more." Back aboard the Frontier, the team gathered in Olivia's quarters, away from potential listening devices. "They're hiding something," Dr. Murphy said, displaying his scans. "Their biology doesn't match what they told us, and these energy readings suggest weapons capabilities far beyond what they've disclosed." Olivia looked at their concerned faces. "Tomorrow, they've invited us to a ceremonial dinner on their mothership. We'll attend as planned, but stay alert. Something doesn't add up." None of them slept well that night as the Frontier drifted alongside the Xeraxian vessel, surrounded by the vast emptiness of space, and perhaps hidden threats they couldn't yet see. The ceremonial dinner aboard the Xeraxian mothership began with great display. The dining hall gleamed with strange metals unknown to Earth science. Dishes containing foods in colors humans had never seen were presented by silent Zyraxian attendants. These delicacies come from 12 different worlds in our empire, Ambassador Krell explained. His skin rippled with blue patterns that Dr. Murphy had learned indicated pride. Olivia smiled politely while leaving her food mostly untouched. 12 worlds. Your information packet mentioned only 3 Zyraxian colonies. Krell's skin briefly flashed red before returning to its normal state. A translation error, surely. Now, Captain Mason, would you join me to discuss the defense capabilities of your vessel? Lieutenant Hoffman might appreciate our engineering section. Officer Wright, our communications array might interest you. And Dr. Murphy, our biology labs await. Olivia noticed the separation tactic immediately. I would prefer if my team stayed together, Ambassador. I insist, Krell said, his voice suddenly cold. 6 armed Zyraxians appeared at the entrances to the dining hall. Greg reached for his hidden weapon, but Olivia shook her head slightly. They were outnumbered and in the heart of an alien vessel. Very well, she conceded. As she was led away, Olivia caught Greg's eye. He nodded almost imperceptibly. Their emergency protocols were now active. Ambassador Krell guided Olivia to an observation deck. Through a massive viewport, she could see the UES frontier looking small and vulnerable. A remarkable achievement for your species, Krell said. Though quite primitive by our standards. Olivia kept her expression neutral. We're still learning. Yes, learning. Krell's skin turned a deep purple. That is why we approached you, Captain. To learn about humanity. To understand your weaknesses. The room darkened, and a holographic display appeared showing Earth. Your world is rich in resources we desire. Your species shows potential that could one day threaten us. The logical solution was clear. Olivia felt cold fear spreading through her chest. The peace talks were never real. They served their purpose. We studied your technology, your biology, your military capabilities. Krell moved closer. While you were enjoying our hospitality, our fleet moved into position. The hologram changed to show dozens of Zyraxian warships emerging from what looked like a nearby nebula. No, Olivia whispered. Your Earth defenses are already falling. Your species had no chance to prepare. Krell gestured, and 2 guards entered. Take the captain to the holding cells with the others. In a sterile white cell, Olivia found her team already detained. Greg had a bruise forming on his jaw. Lisa sat with her head in her hands. They took everything, Dr. Murphy said. All our equipment. Did anyone get a message to the frontier? Olivia asked. Greg nodded grimly. Emergency burst transmission before they grabbed me. The ship's AI will execute Protocol Delta. Protocol Delta would send the frontier racing back to Earth at maximum speed with all their findings. But Olivia knew it would be too late. The ship suddenly shuddered around them. The Zyraxian fleet was moving. They're heading to Earth, Lisa said quietly. For 3 days, they remained in their cell, fed mysterious substances that kept them alive but weak. Through the small viewport in their door, they watched Zyraxian troops moving with purpose. On the 4th day, Ambassador Krell visited them. A screen on the wall activated, showing images that made Olivia's heart sink. Earth's orbital defenses in flames. Zyraxian ships positioning themselves above major cities. Your United Earth Defense Initiative Command Center fell silent 2 hours ago, Krell announced with satisfaction. Your leaders have surrendered. Earth is now under Zyraxian control. He leaned closer to the cell barrier, his black eyes reflecting the images of Earth's defeat. You should be honored, Captain Mason. You witnessed the beginning of the end of human independence. In time, your people will serve the Empire, as all conquered species do. As Krell walked away, Olivia closed her eyes, the weight of failure crushing down upon her. But deep inside, a small spark refused to die out. This wasn't over. Not yet. 3 months passed in the cold cell aboard the Zyraxian mothership. Captain Olivia Mason kept track of time by scratching small marks on the underside of her bunk. The team had grown thin on the alien food, but their minds remained sharp. "I think I'd figured something out," Greg whispered one night as they huddled in their cell. The guards usually paid less attention during what they assumed was the human sleep cycle. The wall panel by the door flickers every 6 hours when they reset the security system. Olivia lifted her head slightly. "How long is the reset?" "About 3 seconds. Not long enough to do anything, but—" Greg reached into his boot and pulled out a small metal component. "What is that?" Dr. Murphy asked, eyes widening. "Part of my belt buckle. I've been working it loose for weeks. If I can jam it into the panel during the reset, it might buy us more time." Lisa moved closer. "Even if it works, we still have to get past the guards." They all looked at Dr. Murphy. During their captivity, he had been asking seemingly innocent questions about Xeraxian biology to their guards. Some had answered, perhaps enjoying the chance to demonstrate their superiority. "Their vision is different from ours," Murphy explained. "They see primarily in the ultraviolet spectrum. Their visible range is shifted. Pure red light is almost invisible to them." Olivia nodded slowly. "The emergency lights in our uniforms. If we break them open, the red chemical light might give us an advantage." It took them 2 more days to prepare. When the moment came, Greg was ready at the panel. The lights flickered. He jammed the metal piece into the slot, and sparks flew. The door remained unlocked for precious seconds, longer than usual. They burst into the hallway, breaking open their emergency lights. The red glow disoriented the Xeraxian guards long enough for Greg and Olivia to overpower them. They took the guards' weapons, strange, rifle-like devices that hummed with energy. "Which way to the hangar bay?" Olivia asked as they raced through corridors. "Left at the next junction," Lisa said. She had been mentally mapping the ship during their brief escorted trips to interrogation rooms. As alarms began to sound, they fought their way toward freedom. Greg proved surprisingly effective with the alien weapon, discovering it had a stun setting. Dr. Murphy led them through less traveled maintenance passages he had observed during their captivity. They reached a small hangar containing scout ships. 2 Xeraxian technicians looked up in shock as the humans burst in. Greg stunned them before they could raise an alarm. "Can anyone fly one of these?" Olivia asked, eyeing the sleek, dart-like craft. Lisa stepped forward. "I've been watching when they bring us through the hangars. The controls are similar to some of our simulation systems. I think I can manage it." They boarded the nearest scout ship. Lisa's hands moved over the unfamiliar controls, her communications training helping her decipher the alien interface. The ship hummed to life. "Hold on," she called as the hangar doors began to close. She gunned the engines, and the small craft shot forward, barely clearing the gap before the massive doors slammed shut. Behind them, larger Xeraxian vessels began to give chase. Lisa pushed the scout ship to its limits, heading away from Earth into the darkness of space. "We can't outrun them for long," she said grimly. Olivia's hand went to her pocket, where she had managed to keep Patterson's envelope hidden all these months. Now was the time. She carefully broke the seal and unfolded the paper inside. "What does it say?" Greg asked as Lisa executed another evasive maneuver. Olivia read aloud. "Rule number 1. Humans never truly lose until they stop fighting." Below this was written a set of coordinates. Coordinates. Dr. Murphy leaned forward. "To where?" Olivia studied them. "Somewhere in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter." Lisa programmed the coordinates into the navigation system. "If we can shake our pursuers, we might make it in 3 days." As the small scout ship darted between floating space debris with Xeraxian vessels in pursuit, Olivia clutched the note tightly. Whatever waited for them at those coordinates, it represented hope, something they had almost forgotten during their imprisonment. And hope, for humans, was sometimes weapon enough to begin with. Lisa flew the stolen Xeraxian scout ship with growing confidence. For 2 days, they had evaded pursuit by hiding in the radiation fields of Jupiter's moons. The ship's systems were advanced but became intuitive once she understood their basic principles. "We're approaching the coordinates," she announced as they navigated through the asteroid belt. Massive rocks tumbled slowly around them, creating a natural maze. Greg watched the sensor display. "I don't see anything special here. Just more rocks." "Patterson wouldn't have sent us to nothing," Olivia said, studying the coordinates again. "There must be something we're missing." Dr. Murphy pointed at a cluster of asteroids ahead. "That formation doesn't look natural. The spacing is too even." As they drew closer, a hidden signal activated in their ship. A narrow beam scanned their vessel, then a transmission came through. "Unidentified craft. This is UEDI Outpost Delphi. State your identity and purpose." The human voices brought tears to their eyes. Olivia responded immediately. "This is Captain Olivia Mason of UES Frontier with Lieutenant Hoffman, Dr. Murphy, and Officer Wright. We've escaped Xeraxian captivity following Commander Patterson's Rule Number 1 coordinates." A long pause followed. "Transmitting docking instructions. Welcome home, Captain." What had appeared to be a natural asteroid formation split apart, revealing a hidden entrance. Lissa carefully navigated the scout ship inside. The doors sealed behind them, and air flooded the chamber. When they stepped out, a small group of humans in UEDI uniforms greeted them. Their leader, a woman with short gray hair and stern eyes, stepped forward. "I'm Commander Jane Foster. We thought you were all dead." She extended her hand to Olivia. Patterson always was the paranoid type. Thank goodness for that. Jane led them through the facility carved inside the asteroid. "We're all that's left of UEDI's Special Projects Division. When the Xeraxians hit Earth, we went dark. They don't know we exist." "How many of you are there?" Greg asked, looking around at the busy corridors. 47 scientists and soldiers. Not much of a resistance, but we've been busy." They entered a large laboratory where scientists worked on complex equipment. In the center stood a device that pulsed with energy. "What is that?" Dr. Murphy asked, his scientific curiosity awakened. A scientist with thick glasses looked up. "We call it the disruptor. We've been studying Xeraxian technology since they first contacted Earth. Patterson never trusted them." Jane nodded. "We intercepted enough of their communications to discover something important. The Xeraxians have a unique biology. Their nervous systems operate on specific electromagnetic frequencies that are different from humans. And this device targets those frequencies." Olivia guessed. "Exactly. It creates a field that disrupts their neural pathways. Not lethal, but completely incapacitating. The problem is range. We can only affect a small area right now." Greg studied the device. "We could modify it to transmit through their own communication network. They've installed relay stations across Earth." Dr. Murphy nodded excitedly. "Their ships, their bases, their troops, all connected by their network. If we could upload the disruptive frequency pattern, we could hit them all at once," Olivia finished. "That's what we've been working toward," Jane said. "But we need access to their main communication hub. It's in orbit around Earth, heavily guarded." Lisa spoke up. "Our stolen ship has Xeraxian identification codes. We might be able to get close." Olivia felt a plan forming. "We need to coordinate with any resistance on Earth. Are there any human fighters left?" Jane smiled for the first time. "We've been in contact with several groups. They're small, scattered, but they've been causing trouble for the Xeraxians, disrupting supply lines, sabotaging equipment." "Then we have a chance," Olivia said. She pulled out Patterson's note with Rule Number 1 written on it. "The Xeraxians think they've won because they control Earth, but they forgot the most important thing about humans. We never truly lose until we stop fighting." Jane completed the sentence, her eyes reflecting new determination. That night, as the others slept, Olivia stood looking at the star map showing Earth under Xeraxian occupation. 3 months of captivity had hardened her resolve rather than breaking it. Now, with the disruptor and the information they had gathered, they finally had a way to fight back. The Xeraxians had no idea what was coming. For 2 weeks, the team worked to perfect their plan. The scientists at Outpost Delphi modified the disruptor to create a digital signal that could be uploaded to the Xeraxian communication network. Dr. Murphy helped refine the frequency to target the aliens' neural systems with maximum effectiveness. Meanwhile, Lisa discovered a way to communicate with Earth's resistance groups using old emergency channels the Xeraxians had overlooked. The scattered human fighters were excited to learn that Captain Mason and her team were alive. "We need coordinated attacks," Olivia explained during a secure transmission. "Small strikes on Xeraxian outposts worldwide, all at the same time." The resistance leader on the other end, a former police officer named Keith Brown, nodded. "My people are ready. When do we move?" 3 days from now. 600 Universal Time. The attacks need to pull their forces away from the communication hub in orbit. As the day approached, tension grew in the hidden base. Jane and her team loaded the modified disruptor onto the stolen Xeraxian scout ship. The device was now small enough to fit in a backpack, but powerful enough to affect the entire network once connected. "Remember," Dr. Murphy explained as they did final checks, "you'll have 10 minutes from the time you connected until the signal fully uploads. After that, any Xeraxian within range of their own communication devices will be incapacitated." "And how long will the effect last?" Greg asked. "Hours, maybe days. Long enough to regain control of key facilities and ships." On the morning of the mission, Olivia addressed the team one last time. "We have one shot at this. Jane's team will remain here as backup. Lisa, Greg, Dr. Murphy, and I will take the scout ship to the communication hub. The resistance on Earth will launch their diversionary attacks exactly 1 hour before we reach the hub." They boarded the scout ship and set course for Earth. As they approached their home planet, they saw the changes 3 months of Xeraxian occupation had brought. Massive alien structures dotted the surface. Ships moved in organized patterns around major cities. The once blue planet now had an unnatural purple glow from Xeraxian technology. "Incoming transmission," Lisa announced, her voice tense. "They're requesting identification." "Send the codes from our ship," Olivia ordered. "Act routine." Lisa transmitted the stolen identification codes. After a tense moment, the response came. "Scout vessel TR-419. Proceed to standard docking protocol at orbital platform 3. Greg let out a breath. They bought it. As they approached the massive communication hub floating above Earth, they received reports from the resistance. Attacks had begun across the planet. Fires and explosions could be seen even from orbit as human fighters struck Xeraxian positions. "They're responding," Lisa reported, monitoring Xeraxian communications. "Ships are being diverted from the hub to handle the attacks." Their scout ship docked at the communication hub with no issues. The team wore stolen Xeraxian uniforms over their human clothes, with masks to hide their faces. Dr. Murphy carried the disruptor in a standard Xeraxian equipment case. "Remember," Olivia said quietly as they prepared to exit, "we need to reach the main server room. Stay together and move with purpose." They stepped out into the hub, walking confidently through the corridors. Most Xeraxians were too busy responding to the crisis on Earth to pay attention to what appeared to be a routine maintenance team. When they encountered a security checkpoint, Greg stepped forward. He had learned enough of the Xeraxian language to manage basic phrases. "Emergency maintenance," he said to the guard, showing falsified orders Jane's team had created. "Central command priority." The guard studied the orders, then looked at their group. For a moment, Olivia feared they had been discovered. Her hand moved slowly toward the concealed weapon at her side. Then the guard stepped aside. "Proceed quickly. All systems must remain functional during this crisis." They continued down the corridor, heading for the heart of the communication hub. As they walked, alarms began to sound throughout the station. "They know something's wrong," Lisa whispered. "The resistance must be hitting them harder than expected." Olivia checked her small display, showing the hub's layout. "We're close. 2 more levels down. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a squad of armed Xeraxian soldiers rushing in the opposite direction. Both groups froze in surprise. The lead Xeraxian's eyes narrowed. "Identify yourselves immediately." Time seemed to freeze as the humans faced the Xeraxian soldiers. Greg's hand moved toward his hidden weapon, but Olivia gave a tiny shake of her head. They were outnumbered. "Emergency maintenance team," Olivia said in her best imitation of Xeraxian speech patterns. "The resistance attacks have damaged communication relays. We must reach the central server immediately." The lead Xeraxian's skin rippled with suspicious colors. "I received no such orders." Direct from Commander Vex, Dr. Murphy added, naming one of the high-ranking officers they had learned about during their captivity. "The disruptions on Earth have overloaded the normal approval channels." The soldiers hesitated. Their leader touched a device on his wrist, presumably to verify the story. Lysa reacted instantly, tapping signals on her concealed communicator. "Don't bother checking," she said confidently. "Communication lines are jammed with emergency traffic. That's why we're here." After what felt like an eternity, the Xeraxian leader gestured for his troops to stand aside. "Proceed, but hurry. The human insects are causing more trouble than expected." The team moved past quickly, maintaining their disguises until they turned the corner. That was close. Greg whispered as they entered an elevator that would take them to the server level. When the doors opened, they found themselves in a vast room filled with glowing equipment. Xeraxian technology hummed with energy as it managed communications across their conquered territories. Only 2 technicians were present, focused on their workstations. Greg moved silently behind them, using the stunner he had kept from their escape. Both technicians slumped over their consoles without raising an alarm. "How long do we have?" Olivia asked as Dr. Murphy removed the disruptor from its case. Lisa checked her device. "The resistance attacks have drawn away most of the security, but they won't last forever. 20 minutes, maybe less." Dr. Murphy identified the main server node and began connecting the disruptor. "This will take a few minutes to integrate with their systems." Olivia and Greg took positions by the doors, weapons ready. The plan was working so far, but Olivia knew from experience that no battle plan survived contact with the enemy. Her instincts proved correct when the elevator activated again. "Someone's coming," she warned. Dr. Murphy worked faster. "Almost there. The device needs to sync with their network structure." The elevator doors opened, and 6 armed Xeraxians rushed out, weapons raised. Greg fired first, stunning 2 before diving behind a console for cover. Olivia took down a third, but had to retreat as energy blasts scorched the wall behind her. "Keep working," she shouted to Dr. Murphy as she fired again from her position. The remaining Xeraxians spread out, moving to surround them. Lisa joined the fight, using a piece of equipment as a shield while firing her own weapon. "Upload initiated," Dr. Murphy announced. 10 minutes until complete transmission. They needed to hold their position until the upload finished. Greg took a hit to his shoulder and cried out in pain, but kept fighting from his knees. The door to the stairwell burst open and more Xeraxians poured in. Among them was a familiar figure, Ambassador Krell himself, his skin pulsing with angry red patterns. "Captain Mason," he called out, his voice filled with contempt. "I should have executed you months ago." Olivia fired at him, but missed as he ducked behind a server bank. The humans were now pinned down from multiple directions, desperately outnumbered. 7 minutes remaining, Dr. Murphy reported, crouching behind the main console. Lisa was hit next, a glancing blow that left her arm limp. They were running out of options and ammunition. Krell moved forward confidently, his own weapon trained on Olivia. "Your resistance has been impressive but futile. Your species simply lacks the evolutionary advantages to compete with us." Olivia noticed the upload progress on a nearby screen. 65% complete. They just needed a little more time. "Your attacks on Earth have already been contained," Krell continued, moving closer. Your species has been conquered. Why continue this pointless struggle? Olivia met his gaze steadily, despite the blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. A smile slowly formed on her face as she saw the upload reach 90%. You forgot rule number 1, she said clearly. Krell tilted his head in confusion. What nonsense is this? Humans never truly lose until they stop fighting. Olivia replied as the upload completed with a high-pitched tone. The effect was immediate. Krell's body went rigid. His weapon clattered to the floor as his hands began to tremble. Around the room, every Xeraxian solider convulsed, their neural systems overloaded by the precisely targeted frequencies now broadcasting through their own communication network. 6 months after the battle on the communication hub, Earth was beginning to look like home again. Olivia stood at the window of the newly rebuilt UEDI headquarters in Geneva, watching workers dismantle a Xeraxian structure in the distance. The purple glow that had covered parts of the planet was fading as human engineers reversed the alien technology's effects on the environment. Admiral Mason. A voice called from behind her. Olivia turned to see Lisa approaching with a digital tablet. The new rank still felt strange to her. The reports from the Pacific cleanup crews just came in. They've successfully converted the last Xeraxian base into a research facility. Olivia nodded. And the prisoners? Being transported to the lunar colony as agreed. That brings the total to 17,000 Xeraxians in custody. The disruptor signal had spread through the entire Xeraxian network, affecting every ship, base, and soldier connected to it. What had followed was not the massacre the aliens might have committed in the same position, but a systematic detention of the incapacitated invaders. In another part of the building, Dr. Murphy led a team of scientists studying Xeraxian biology and technology. Their research had already yielded advances in medicine, energy production, and space travel. Greg, now recovered from his injuries, headed the security detail for the research division, ensuring no dangerous technologies fell into the wrong hands. Olivia walked with Lisa to the main conference room, where Jane Foster waited with several other military leaders. A large holographic display showed the current positions of Earth's new defense fleet. The Saturn outpost reports all systems normal, Jane said as they entered. The early warning network is fully operational. The captured Xeraxian ships, now retrofitted with human controls and crews, formed the core of Earth's space defense. The knowledge gained from the alien technology had allowed humans to make incredible leaps forward. What about the diplomatic transmissions? Olivia asked, taking her seat at the head of the table. A communications officer spoke up. We've received responses from 3 systems so far. They seem eager to establish relations now that the Xeraxian Empire is in disarray. The news of Earth's victory had spread across space. Other civilizations, some previously intimidated by the Xeraxians, were now reaching out to the humans who had accomplished what many thought impossible. After the meeting, Olivia walked to the memorial garden built beside the headquarters. A simple stone monument bore the names of those lost during the invasion. She placed her hand on the cool surface, remembering the cost of their freedom. Commander Patterson stood waiting for her by the garden exit. The old soldier had emerged from retirement to help rebuild Earth's defenses. Never doubted you'd figure it out, he said with a smile. Rule number 1, Olivia replied. It saved us all. Patterson nodded toward the sky. The Xeraxians won't be the last to test us. There are others out there watching, wondering if Earth is worth the trouble. Later that evening, Olivia attended the launch ceremony for humanity's first true interstellar vessel. Unlike the UES Frontier that had been designed for short exploration missions, this ship was built for deep space travel. Its hull gleamed in the sunset as final preparations were made. Dr. Murphy stood beside her on the viewing platform. Where do you think they went? He asked quietly. They both knew he meant the Xeraxian reinforcements that had fled when their main forces were defeated. Somewhere in the vastness of space, survivors of the once mighty empire were regrouping, perhaps planning revenge. Wherever they are, they'll think twice before coming back, Olivia said. The massive ship rose silently from its launch pad, new engines based on Xeraxian technology allowing for near-effortless ascent. As it climbed higher, the crowd cheered. Olivia could see the vessel's name painted proudly on its side. UES Rule Number 1. In the darkness of deep space, beyond the edges of human exploration, signals traveled between alien worlds. Reports of the Xeraxian defeats spread from system to system. Species that had watched Earth with hungry eyes reconsidered their plans. The message was clear. This small blue planet housed a species that refused to accept defeat, that fought back against impossible odds, and that now possessed the technology to defend itself. Humanity had survived its first interstellar threat, but Olivia knew it wouldn't be the last. Next time, though, they wouldn't be caught unprepared. Next time, the aliens would know about Rule Number 1 from the start.